In shocking news, current light heavyweight champion Carlos Ulberg may have to practically share his title, as the UFC's president Dana White has stated that it's very possible an interim title fight at light heavyweight will occur soon. Crazy stuff. Do I believe an interim title fight is warranted right now at light heavyweight? No. I think Carlos should be given, the full amount of time to rest and recover, without having to share his belt, without there having to be an interim champion at light heavyweight. I think Carlos will be back sooner rather than later. He's dialed in. He knows what he stands to lose. He's a newly minted champion, and he doesn't want his reign to end that quickly. He won in emphatic fashion off a bum knee. He was able to knock out Yuri Prochazka. Granted, Yuri had a moment of weakness, but still, you can't be doing that in a title fight. It was Yuri's fault that the fight ended that way. But, also you got to give credit to Carlos Ulberg for not quitting, But I don't see the sense in rushing a interim light heavyweight title fight. I don't see the sense in it, I get it. Fighters like Paulo Costa are on the rise, and if Paulo is able to get his hands on a light heavyweight title, then we could see Paulo finally fight Khamzat Chimaev, and that would be a huge fight. But, you got to give the newly minted champs time here, I get the UFC picking the next, contender for a newly minted champion in the UFC, but I don't see the sense in rushing an interim title fight after there's been, a newly minted champion. But I get it. Carlos Ulberg, his knee was destroyed in that title fight against Yuri Prochazka, and the UFC wants to keep the ball rolling in the division. They want to keep the division moving. But I think there's a way to do that while maintaining Carlos Ulberg as the undisputed champion. While keeping him as such. I think there's a way to keep on having fun fights at light heavyweight. You have fighters like Magomed Ankalaev, like I said, Paulo Costa. Who else? You have Dominic Reyes. You could still use Khalil Roundtree's injured right now, but he'll be back soon. Jan Blachowicz is also, in the shadows waiting to come out. Like, you have big fights to put on, and you have a lineup of contenders you could surely make within the next year. I don't think a interim title fight is needed at light heavyweight just yet. I think Carlos Ulberg should be granted more time, and I think we're rushing a bit too much. But overall, let me know what you think.